Hey everybody, this is Mickey G. We all know that sometimes technology can be our best friend, and at other times it could be our worst enemy. So Rodney and I talk about that in this edition of Old Fools Talking Old School.
And I was like, damn, I had to pull out my phone to get that particular password because I didn't know what the password was. Like, man, once I got it, then it automatically sent me to my save thing for you on this site. Like, well, I didn't ask you for that right now. I don't know what the hell is going on with this thing. I know from now on I have to get ready to sign on about a quarter till. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I've been using that new Outlook for a while. Well, sometimes I switch back and forth. But one thing I don't like about the new Outlook is you can't move. Like I've got like 3 different email accounts that I set up for
Mm-hmm.
different reasons, really.
Mm-hmm.
And used to, you could, move emails from every email account to the other with no problem. But with
Mm-hmm.
this new Outlook, you can only move emails around in that account. So,
Right.
some people will send me an email in one of the accounts, and I've got a folder set up for in another one. So I've got to forward it to that account to save it, in that folder. And you used to have to do that. So sometimes I go back and forth. I'll go back to the old version and do I like some of the features of the new one, but sometimes I have to go back to the old version so I can transfer the files to the folders where I need them. So,
Right.
you know, it,
I mean,
I,
this sucker just wiped out my other original address on there, and but it'll show it if I open up the emails, but
right.
it just won't. It won't let me do. I've tried to upload that. I just been hesitant. I hadn't done it because I just hadn't. Can't say I don't have the time. I do, but I hate getting on there. But I'm gonna go in and let them take it over and reset it up. I done tried to set up my old email, my original email address. Tried to set it up about 4 times. Never takes. So I'm gonna call the Geek Squad. That's what I'm paying y'all's ass for.
Yeah. 'Cause that's what happened with mine. Uh, I sometimes have to go out on the server. 'Cause I usually run my Outlook off my desktop, but sometimes I have to go out on the server to the Comcast actual server to record because some of the stuff, the folder will be there, and I'll look in there and I know I got stuff from back in like 2015, 2016. And I
Mhm.
go in there and they don't have anything in there but stuff from 2024.
Right.
So I'll go in, I'll go back out to the server and bring it up. I try to reload it into that folder and it doesn't take. So yeah, it can be frustrating, that's for sure.
I'm serious, man. I haven't tried to go out to AOL to do it. I'll go back out there because that was my original address, and I still have stuff that I didn't even know when I signed up for whatever I signed up for back then. I used that one. I go on there. I got about 500 emails, from
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna see. I'm gonna have to get it because this was frustrating. Because what happened was I was sitting here watching the basketball game, and shortly thereafter, the basketball game started watching me, and I had to go to the bathroom. I had to take me a little piss. I looked up. It was 8:57. I was like, oh, so that's when I started messing with it. But yeah, it's all good, I guess.
Yeah, it's all part of technology. I know I got those separate email accounts I was talking to you about are all on Comcast.
Mm-hmm.
But I got a Gmail account, I got a Yahoo
Yep.
account because I had to go in. Sometimes on Comcast, you can't make that email when they want to do the different verifications. You can't make that email the same second verification because they said that email already exists.
Right.
So
Right.
I've got to set up another account so I can say send it to this one. But that Yahoo account and that Gmail account, I never go to because I only set them up to be able to show a different account for verification.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll get in there and like tonight, for some reason, I had to sign in all 3 of my Comcast accounts. For some reason, I went in there and looked, and all of a sudden, they all were shut down and wanted me to. And one of them, I guess I had changed the password on and didn't write it down because I try to keep up with all that stuff. So I had to go in to to change it. Of course, they wanted to send me a verification code and came up with this Yahoo account that I had to set up. And I'm like, I ain't been in that account for I don't know how long. So
Yeah.
I just so happened that on the spreadsheet where I keep all my passwords at, it was in there and I got into it okay. And then it said in my folder, my inbox, I had like 250 something emails
Yeah.
and back to like 2022. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's probably not the last time I was in here.
Right.
And of course it wasn't nothing that it was all ads and
Yeah.
it
Right.
it sends stuff like if somebody sends me a message in Facebook, that message will show in that Yahoo
In
account.
that.
So I had to
Yeah.
set it up there too.
Yeah.
And, so I just went in and just do a global delete to get it all out there because nobody knows about that account to even send me something.
Right. Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I tell you, it's frustrating for the old head here, and you know, I got spoiled out there when I was working. Oh, let me call IT. Hey, man, fix this.
Yeah.
Whatever the problem was. So now I'm here trying to figure it out. Like I was just saying, I found it. I don't know how the hell I found it, but I found it. And see, I went to my homepage because I went ahead and saved the shortcut to my homepage to the alluded to website. So
Right.
in the past, all I had to do was go sign on and hit that, and it'd bring it up. Now I bring that up, and it gives me uh uh whatever. What is this bastard now? It's been pissing me off. So, but I get this new Outlook on my Gmail account. Yeah, that's what it
Mhm.
is. And I get this on there, and then it's just confusing to me, man. I was just like I have to play with it and get it down. And I'm like you. See, I I think the last time I've been on my laptop here was the last time you and I recorded.
Yeah.
So you forget, at least I do. I forget, especially when my old way was the way that was I hit my shortcut and I'd be done. But I'm gonna have to get a grip on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know what you mean. I know what you
Mm.
mean. Did you hear that story about Angie Stone, man?
Yeah, man. I couldn't believe it, man. I I uh I saw it early this morning. I said something ain't right because I don't know what the hell. I've been waking up at like 4:30 in the morning. I guess I'm hitting that old age, 4:30, gotta go take me a piss,
Yep.
you know?
You ain't the only one. I'm the I'm the same way.
Yep, I had to go take me a piss. So I I can never go to sleep. I'm one of those people that when I wake up like that, I like to keep it dark so the light don't wake me up.
Mhm.
But I trip over every damn thing. Now I have to cut me some light on so I can see. I already messed up my knee that way. So I cut on the light. Well, by the time I get settled back down, I ain't sleepy. So I have my phone by the bed. And I just look on there and then I said, oh, that must be a mistake. It was sending condolences to her family. I was like, surely Angie Stone ain't dead, but yeah, I was like, damn.
Yeah, I saw Tamara told me about it first, and I went out there and looked at it, and I don't know why, but I would never have thought she was that old. I thought she was maybe in her 30s, 40s, because she sorta came on the scene at an older age, I guess, than I knew of.
Yeah.
And I went out there and I said, 63? I said, ain't no way she's 63 years old. But,
I knew she was older. I didn't know how much older though, because she's the one that had the baby by the Brown Sugar song dude. Uh, what was his name?
yeah, I know who you're talking about. Coolio? Is that
Nah, what
Coolio? No?
Coolio. Um, hell, what was that boy's name? He was almost like a one album hit. He hit his one little thing. But yeah, I was shocked because I was like, he had that picture of him supposedly naked on his album. All the women like it. I was like, oh, look at him. He's all built, and it was
Right.
like, and Angie was kind of robust.
Yeah, she was sort of a big girl,
Yeah. And
and,
I was like, damn. And they had a boy. They had a little boy together. I was like, oh, okay. And but I knew she was older than him, But I didn't. I'm like you. I didn't know she was in our peer group, if you will.
Yeah, I didn't either, I thought she was younger than that, and I think some of it's because when she sorta came on the scene and had her biggest hits,
Yeah.
I guess she was older than I knew that she was, but I know she had that one uh, cut with, Betty Wright that, she did with Betty Wright, and I
Hmm.
remember saying to myself then, well, that's another example of a young person in the industry, getting with some of the older folks
Oh
and
yeah.
doing something good. I said, that was nice her to do that. But,
Yeah.
I was, and now that I see that, I'm like, she obviously was younger than Betty Wright, but, not by a whole lot,
Well, yeah, buddy. Yeah, I went out after I talked to you earlier today, man. Went out, took me a ride, and went got us some dinner. And I was like, okay, my whole demeanor got a little better. I said, okay, you know,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, like I say, I understand the circumstances and stuff like that. That wasn't no problem. I can understand the the emotions and all as you go through in those kind of situations. So that not a problem. Like I say, if I can just say a few words that makes situation a little bit better, I that's the least I could do. Sometimes you can't find the right words sometimes, but
yeah,
I don't mind at least she's having a little bit of a chat. So don't yeah, that's not a
yes,
problem
sir.
at all.
And sometimes it's just a listening ear because I ain't really been talking,
Hmm.
So I was like, oh, okay, I'm back on track now.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Uh,
I'm glad to see that because I know those kind of things can be tough and sometimes it ain't so much a listening ear. I think it's just a matter of whose that ear is. There's
well, okay.
sometimes there things I can talk to Marion about, and she's that person I need to talk to about, and there's other times, it just seemed like I need another ear to
Oh
listen to
yeah.
me, kind of thing.
Oh yeah. Definitely. And even with this one, with her going through what she's going through,
Hmm.
and she was asking me about it the other day, and I just finally just told her. I just been not saying nothing. I just finally told her, you going through what you're going through. You ain't got time for me. She goes, no, no, no. I said, well, I'm just saying, that's a figure of speech,
Right, right.
and I think how women are sometimes. They always think we under control, even though if we ain't boohooing or something, they think we got it all together. So I notice now she's just, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. I done, I done got me a vent on, so I'm good now.
Yeah,
You
yeah, yeah. Marion says the same thing to me. She tells me all the time, you got too much on your plate.
Mhm.
And I tell her, I said, I sort of am glad I've got a lot on my plate because it doesn't give me a lot of time to pause and
Mhm.
and dwell on one little situation. I told her I think that's good because she said, I don't know if you've really grieved or not. And I said, well, I know everybody has a different idea on grieving and how long it should take and what they should go through and things of that nature. And I said, I think I'm just one of those kind of persons. I think I may have got all mine out when it comes to Mark the night I went down there. I mean, I had to go off. The police was there, the chaplain was there, his girlfriend was there, or the girl that he was sort of his friend. I ain't say much his girlfriend, but
Right.
they all were there, man. I got out of the car and I had to walk back down the street some.
Mhm.
I went back up and apologized to them all and all, but it just boom. I guess the reality hit me at that point.
Right. Right.
And but I told her, I said, I think there are people you just handle situations, differently. There's people that, you say, oh man, that happened months ago, a year ago. Why has it still got you down? And then there's people that just stays with them a lot longer. And sometimes you just have to talk about those things. But I think my thing is if I could, sort of stay busy and not have to sort of just dwell on one situation, I think that helps me. So I tell her that. I said, I appreciate you saying that, but I'm sort of glad I got a lot on my plate because it keeps me motivated, keeps me going, and doesn't, make me start every day, wondering, why did this happen or why did that happen, that kind of thing. So
Yeah. Mm.
it
For
Eh,
sure.
it's just one of those kind of things. I mean, I was looking at that thing with Angie Stone today, and I've seen 2 or 3 other death notices. I know Chris Jasper died, and
Yeah, I saw that.
Gwen McCrae died, and all. I mean, these are all people, like I say, that we, sort of grew up with.
Oh, yeah.
Thinking, we. I was telling him I was my chiropractor's office the other day. And this guy was in there. He's in there a lot of times. Talks all the time, and he was talking about this lady who they were talking about animals. This girl was saying about all the animals. They got this little farm here that you can go to, and you hug the cows and pet the pigs. It's supposed to be sort of a calming
Yeah.
pet sanctuary kind of thing. And this girl was talking about cows, how gentle the cows were, and they have the stories out there. This is a cow that escaped the slaughterhouse, and somebody found it out there on the highway, and they brought it to this place, and this guy was saying, "Well, yeah, them cows, they can be mean too." Said, "I know this neighbor of mine, she's had this cow for forever, and I mean, it had horns and everything." She said one day she went out there and was, just going out there to feed, and the cow came up on her and flipped her over and knocked her down and gave her a concussion, broke ribs and all kind of things. So he was saying, they might look all nice and gentle
Mhm.
sometimes, but they can turn on you. And he said, and she ain't no spring chicken either. And the
Yeah.
girl said, "Yeah, how old is she?" She said, "Oh man, she got to be 60, 62." I'm thinking, wait a minute. I thought he talking about somebody 80 years. He said 60, 60, and I'm thinking I'm almost 70. But what did he say about yeah, I was expecting him to say somebody in, like, their 80s, but he said, "She ain't no spring chicken. She's 60, 62 years old." So, I mean, I guess, sometimes in my mind, I still almost look at myself as being that same young guy, I
Oh,
guess
yeah.
you could say. You just
Oh,
sort of
yeah.
think like, and then the reality sets in when somebody says something like that, or you hear all the ads for, medications and vaccines, and they talk about, and the elderly over 60, and I'm thinking, I guess I don't consider myself elderly. I mean, I know I
Yeah.
am by the
Yeah.
numbers and all that kind of stuff, but
Yeah.
yeah, when he said that, yeah, she ain't no spring chicken anymore. She's 60, 62 years old. Like, okay.
Yeah, I'm telling you. And some of these folks need to stop fooling themselves. Those are wild animals with their own, not necessarily wild, and some of them domesticated, but they still have a mind and of their own, and they have moves just like we do. I ain't totally
Mhm.
turning my back on none of 'em,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. They are animals, and the
Mhm.
guy was saying too, he said, we had a horse that was blind in one eye. He said, my daddy kept telling me, "Don't get on that blind side of that horse, he'll kick you."
Yeah.
And he said, "You know how kids are." I went on that blind side, said he kicked me in the chest. And of course I know he lied, 'cause he said, "I couldn't breathe for like 20 minutes." I went, "If you couldn't breathe for 20 minutes, you'd be dead." But anyway, when I well, I sort of got his point. I guess
Yeah.
I guess it knocked the wind out of it. But yeah, man, I couldn't breathe for like 20 minutes. I'm thinking to myself, well, if you couldn't breathe for 20 minutes, you wouldn't be with us today. But I
Yes,
understand what you're
indeed.
trying to say.
Right.
But he said, "Yeah, I didn't listen." And I went on the blind side of that horse, and he kicked me in the chest, and I couldn't breathe for 20 minutes. so, so yeah, they are indeed animals. That's for
Exactly.
sure.
But speaking of not considering yourself old, I was in the store getting some stuff, man, and this young lady came by dressed all skimpy and all that, but she looked good. She looked real good. She wasn't one of them. You said, you shouldn't have come out in that.
Right.
But and so I just happened to walk by and I just said, "How you doing?" She goes, "Oh, I'm fine, sir. How are you?" I was like, "Oh, I'm fine, I guess." Yeah, you know, and so I went over to get some of this coffee creamer that Rosin like, cause half the time they out of it. I said, well, let me grab a couple of them while they there. So it's got a little thing up there that's not a mirror, but it shows your reflection.
Uh-huh.
And so after I picked them up, I looked up there and looked at all this gray. I said, "Hell, I guess that's right." She said, "Hey, I'm fine, sir." Ah, shit. Well, yeah, boy, that harsh reality comes back to hit you.
Yeah, yeah, it does, it does, and I guess that's just the nature of things, when you start to get older, you
Mhm.
you get to the point. I mean, I think sometimes if you're having a lot of physical issues and things, you probably say, "Yeah, I'm getting that way." I mean, I ain't
Right,
got to that point yet and still able to do pretty well with things, but yeah, I mean, you just look at the numbers and you say, "Yeah, I'm definitely in that group," It's just sometimes you just don't feel comfortable, and I even have that issue with some of the people that I deal with, and I deal with people of, all ages, so, well,
mhm,
who do you say, "Yeah, hey, I'm Mickey," and who do you say, "I'm Mr. Gwen,"
right, right,
Because, some of them you talk to every day, and they're younger than me, but
mhm,
I feel comfortable with, tell you, "Hey, just call me Mickey," kinda thing, it
right,
seems more practical and friendly than, "Call me Mr. Gwen," But,
mhm,
yeah, I mean, I sometimes just that aspect of, "Oh, no, don't call me Mr. Gwen, call me Mickey," kinda thing. It just
mhm,
makes you feel like you got to that point. I mean, I do look at it as a bit of respect kinda thing,
right, right,
um, but I always even I was talking to a gentleman the other day, he came down to the museum from the senior home, and I think he's probably older than I am, but, you don't know, you
right,
don't know, and I was saying something to him, and I said something like, "Well, yeah, I think you're a little bit younger than I am, but you might remember so and so," as I was talking to him, and, he never, he didn't, tell me how old he was or anything, but sometimes, like, when I don't know, I just say, "Hey, I think you're a little bit younger than I am," and usually they'll say, "Well, no, when were you born?" And
yeah,
I don't have a problem telling people. I mean,
yeah,
I don't have a problem doing that, and sometimes, with the fact that I wear a hat, a lot of times they'll say, "Well, you don't look that old." I'll take my hat off and say, "Well, you see all this gray up here?"
yeah,
It ain't only from worrying, it's from being old too, But,
that's it. Yeah, 'cause I always have a cap or a hat on,
right, right.
and, well, that really shows it, but hell, my goatee is all white, so I guess it throws them off a little bit because it's the damnedest thing. My mustache is black, but my goatee is white,
Mhm.
and, so it's one of them. Is he? Yeah, well, hell, he got to have some age on to have all that white on his chin. But
Yeah.
but, yeah, it's funny how you learn to accept where you are and be glad of it, at least
Yeah. Oh,
still
yeah.
here.
Yeah, that's the thing, but I guess as you see more and more of these, uh, folks that are passing away, and some of them, like you say they're 8 like, Roberta Flack, with 88, I think,
Mhm.
and I look back and think about, when I remember her coming out with her songs, and I'm like, "Well, yeah, I was sort of a teenager then, and she was definitely an adult." So, yeah,
Mhm.
that sort of made sense, and then I, was telling Marion I meant to say something about her, but the OJs have been doing their farewell tour, and they was in Nashville Thursday night, and I saw the ad for it, a month ago, and I said, "Man, we ought to go down and see that," 'cause we saw them in concert. I guess it's been 30 years ago. They were in a concert with the Isley Brothers and somebody else. I think we was in St. Louis, and we went and saw them. I said, "I'd like to go down and see him," and I just kept, forgetting about saying anything, and I was looking at my Facebook feed, Thursday, and this guy was saying, "On my way to see the OJs in their farewell tour," I'm like, "Damn, there's another group that you sort of grew up with that,
Oh, yeah.
they calling it quits when it comes to traveling and stuff," and
They should have called it quits about 10 years ago, boy, they looking 90-ish.
yeah, yeah,
I saw
especially Eddie, poor thing.
yo, Eddie.
Yeah,
Ooh,
yeah,
man.
he's
He
looking his age, I guess you could say.
I'm telling you, and, they still kicking it though, but yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
imagine that road ought to be done whooped them a long time ago, you know, s especially as they age, they're not filling arenas anymore, they're filling, smaller venues for the most part,
Yeah,
unless
well,
they're
that's why they
with
were in Nashville. Yeah,
yeah,
they weren't at the big one, Bridgestone or they was at the Ryman Auditorium, which was where the Grand Ole Opry was held at the old place. They got even got a new Grand Ole Opry now.
right.
They were at Ryman Auditorium, and, yeah, so they're filling the smaller venues, and I guess they must be touring by themselves. I didn't see any, like, opening acts or anything, and I guess maybe with your farewell tour, maybe you do that a little bit more is,
Yeah.
sort of go in by yourself or maybe have, like, a local group open up for you, uh, yeah, I say you just think back and, like, I can remember when they first started recording back in the day, but once again, I was in high school then, and they were
Oh, yeah.
grown men. They were grown men, so, yeah, they,
They was on that blue sign on the arch light.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's just as you think about those kind of things, it just time, like we always say, it's gone so quickly.
Oh, yeah. Man, it I even sometimes when I'm sitting here wondering, where did it go? I mean, dang, I find myself doing stuff that I used to think old folks did, and I'm like, well, I guess you old folk now.
Yeah, yeah, that's the way I am too. And it seem like you think about the old days more than you used to now because you got all these years to look back on things, and I think that's what makes it even more uh, you know, almost not unbelievable. I mean, it happens in life, but you look back and think about, man, I remember when we was back on the yard and doing this
Oh,
and
yeah.
that, and it seemed like that was just yesterday kind of thing.
That's it. That is it, man. I told you earlier today I was talking to a partner of mine up here, my ex next door neighbor. I rode through there. Shit, halftime during the day, I just get out and ride around
Mhm.
just to get out of the house. And I stopped in and hollered at him. And we start reminiscing. He said, man, you remember the little black Mustang I had when I first moved over here? I said, yeah, I do remember that Mustang, man. He said, hell, that's over 30 years ago. I was like, damn. Yeah, it is. He started rattling off, and then I had this and I had that, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. Like, boy, it just sneaks on by.
Yeah, it does. It does. As me and Marion keep saying, this year will be uh, 20 years that we've been back here in Murfreesboro. We got here in '05, and
Ain't that something?
when Katrina went through and all that stuff was going on, that's when we moved back, and it'll be 20 years this year. Girls are going to school, got out of school, turned 40, and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking, when we first got here, I was just looking right at, even before 50.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm thinking I'm getting close to 70.
Yeah, buddy.
So
In a heartbeat.
yeah, 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 getting close to 70 now. And I was thinking the other day, I was talking about getting me another car and stuff. And I thought, oh man, I can wait. I don't need that right now. And I tell myself, with them years of waiting to start to be shooting sooner, back in the day when you didn't have to care about that, yeah, I'll wait. I'll be okay. Now it's like, well, waiting
Yep.
ain't like it used to be.
I'm telling you, man, especially now, man, that's what finally convinced me to go and get another one. I was waiting. And I was justifying, well, this truck is running good. I don't need to get rid of this. Blah, 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 blah. I'm going to buy one more. And finally, I was just like, well, when they told me your technology is too old for OnStar, I said, well, I guess I need to upgrade. And
Right.
what am I waiting for? Ain't like that little boy told me he was installing the water system in the house. He's talking about getting well, sir, if you do this, you can get a lifetime warranty. I said, well, if you'd have told me that 30 years ago, I might have considered it. Yeah, my lifetime is more behind me than there is in front of me.
That's exactly right.
You
That's
know?
exactly right.
Get a lifetime warranty. Yeah, man, that don't mean nothing now.
Yeah, man. Seem like the older you get, the faster time does fly. Why wasn't it going so fast when we were younger? I'd like it all to take a slow train at this point in my life, but hey, doesn't seem like it's going to do that. Well, we hope you enjoyed this edition. Join us next time for Old Fools Talking Old School. Until then, this is Mickey G.
Peace.